Morning, everyone.
Morning.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Nice to see so many happy people here this morning. I'm sure you're enjoying the weather and thinking about the weather, and we won't hold you up any longer than we have to. How does that sound? I'll call this meeting to order at 9:30 a.m. And I will confirm the municipal clerk is here, and I'll ask everybody on council to comment whether they are here or not, present or not. So go ahead, Deputy Mayor Stover.
Thank you, Mayor Lobo. I am here.
Councilor Ainsworth,
Present.
Councilor Mary Catherine,
Present.
and Councilor Booth.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm here too.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Booth is, Councilor Booth is attending virtually, so everybody knows that he's here. The meeting will start at 9:30 a.m. And a territorial land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge the township of Alma-Culdeman is located on the Mississaugan-Ashanindic territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississaugan-Ashanindic. The township of Alma-Culdeman respectively acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and the integrity for generations to come. Approval of the agenda. The agenda for the municipal planning regular council meeting held on July 22nd, 2025 being approved with some amendments. And they are 7.1 and 7.2 regarding the Martin application has been withdrawn. And so therefore that will not be considered. And the delegations indicate that they do not wish to speak at this time. So that will affect both 7.1, 7.2, and further on 11-1, which is the bylaw amendment application. So we will not be referring to any of those. Okay. So can I get a mover to seconder to do that? Moved by Councilor Ainsworth and seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried. Thank you, Greg. Disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Seeing none,
None.
that will be duly recorded. So 7.1 and 7.2 are listed as the next ones, and we decided that will not be discussed. So we're going to move to adjourn to the Land Division / Committee of Adjustment meeting. I'll need a motion to do that. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Alma-Culdeman enact as follows. That the Council of the Township of Alma-Culdeman, being the Land Division Committee / Committee of Adjustment, move to the Land Division Committee of Adjustment meeting at 9:38 a.m. 9:33 a.m. I'm looking over your shoulder to see that clock, and there's a reflection back there, so I can't see it too well. Anyways, 9:33 a.m. Mover to seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. All in favor? I can see you now, Greg, so if you put up your hand, that
Yeah.
works good too. Thank you.
Okay.
So we'll move over to the agenda for the Committee of Adjustment Land Division Committee meeting. And I'll call a meeting to order at 9:35 a.m. And the Secretary Treasurer is present as well as members of the committee. Territorial land acknowledgement. We respectively acknowledge that the Township of Alma-Culdeman is located on the Mississauga-Ashanindic territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississaugan-Ashanindic. The Township of Alma-Culdeman respectively acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Moving on to the approval of the agenda. And I'll need a motion that the agenda of the Committee of Adjustment Land Division Committee meeting held on July 22nd, 2025 be approved. Mover and a seconder. I'm going to take Councilor Booth because I see he's got his hand up. And just make sure that everybody knows you're here, and seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. All in favor? That motion is carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof?
No.
Seeing none, that will be recorded. And we are going to move on to the approval of the minutes. And the first one we have is the Committee of Adjustment, the Land Division meeting of June 24th, 2025. It is recommended the Committee of Adjustment, the Land Division Committee of the Corporation of the Township of Allen Haldeman enact as follows. That the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment and the Land Division Committee meeting held on June 24th, 2025 be approved. Do I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. All in favor? Motion is carried. Moving on to consents. Our first application for consent is from Greg and Karen Thompson, AH092025. And it's for planning application for consent for Greg and Karen Thompson. Go ahead, Ms. Planner.
Thank you, through the chair. The purpose of the application is to sever a parcel for a lot addition from an existing 0.8 hectare or 1.98 acre property located at 1026 Merrill Road, number 31. The addition will add approximately 0.03 hectares to the recipient property, resulting in a 0.17 hectare recipient lot and a 0.77 hectare retained donor lot. The owner of the recipient lot intends to construct a garage. The subject property is located on the south shore of Rice Lake and has significant frontage on the lake. The property is developed with a single detached dwelling, a detached garage, and an accessory building. Sunset Bay Road, a private lane, extends from 7th Line Road and Merrill Road through the property and provides access to 4 cottage properties on or towards Rice Lake. Merrill Road is a private right-of-way on this section and runs parallel to the lakefront, providing access to 16 cottage properties on the shore. The accessory building is separated from the detached garage and dwelling by Sunset Bay Road, which runs directly through the property. The south and southeastern portion of the property is predominantly wooded, and it is bordered by a large rural property to the southeast and separated by woodlands. There's a water course to the west and unevaluated wetland on the southern portion of the property. The property is designated rural in our official plan, and it is zoned limited service residential, and there is environmentally sensitive areas in the western limits of the property. The PPS does permit the residential use, and it also requires that natural features and areas be protected for the long term. There's also requirements for protection of heritage features, including archaeological resources and direction away from hazard lands. Within the county's official plan, it's designated rural areas as well. And in our official plan, I've noted it was designated rural. Through the zoning bylaw, there is an exception on the property. It's LSR-13, which permits the residential use with a minimum lot size of 0.5 hectares, and the minimum lot frontage requirement is 13.71. The proposed severance will not reduce the lot area of the retained lands below what is required for lot area. The proposed 0.03 hectare severed lot will be added to the property, which is zoned limited service residential. Although the minimum lot size is 0.4 hectares and lots are required to have a minimum frontage of 30 meters, this lot is considered legal non-conforming or grandfathered, and is permitted to have a deficient lot area and frontage in accordance with section 4.12 of the zoning bylaw. The lot addition will create an improved lot area and does not require a zoning bylaw amendment. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies. Public Works and the building department had no concerns. A building permit would be required for the garage that's proposed. The county had no objections. They noted that the property is entirely regulated by Lower Trent and indicated that there are woodlands on the property and suggested an environmental impact study. They also pointed out the need for archaeology assessment. Lower Trent was of the opinion that it's consistent with the hazard policies of the PPS. They requested a wetland assessment to be done to identify where the features are on the site. And Alderville First Nation noted that if there are ground disturbing activities, an archaeological assessment should be completed. Notice was provided to all registered owners within 60 meters of the property, and a sign was posted. The proposed severance will result in a lot addition of 0.3 hectares to the property at 1026 Merrill Road, allowing for a detached garage to be constructed. The donor property will continue to have private right-of-way access to Merrill Road and Sunset Bay with water frontage on Rice Lake. The application has been determined to be consistent, provided the conditions of approval are satisfied, which includes typical conditions in addition to verification that the lot addition will merge and that the existing easement for the private right-of-ways will remain. A wetland assessment be conducted by Lower Trent, and prior to any ground altering or disturbing activities, an archaeological assessment is required. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary Treasurer. Does any members of the committee have any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on and ask the applicant. The applicant is here. Do you have any comments?
Well, I'm the agent.
Do you have any?
You have to come to the microphone.
Oh. I have no comment.
Thank you. Do members of the public visiting us with this morning that are here, do you have any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll open it up to people who are attending virtually. Do any members of the public attending virtually have any questions or comments for this application? I see none, so we're going to move on. And I will read the recommendations. It is recommended that the Land Division / Committee of Adjustment for the Corporation of the Township of Elm-McCuldevan enact as follows: that application AH092025 by Greg and Karen Thompson, agent Ken Darlson, to sever a parcel of land for the addition of a vacant lot in part of Lot 20, Concession 7, geographically in the Township of Elmwood, is hereby approved subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. In addition to the registered survey, a geo-referenced DWG file of the survey be provided in a format satisfactory to the township and Northumberland County. That a draft transfer for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. That the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date. That the severed parcel be deemed as a lot addition to the recipient property, and the applicant's lawyer submit an undertaking to register a consolidation on title giving effect to the lot addition. That the applicant's lawyer submit a legal opinion verifying that the lot addition lands will merge on the title with the recipient parcel under the Planning Act, and that the existing easement for the private right-of-way will remain. That a wetland assessment be conducted by the Lower Trent Conservation Authority to determine the limit of the area regulated by the Lower Trent Conservation Authority pursuant to Part 6 of the Conservation Authority Act and Ontario Regulation 41-24, and prior to any site alteration or ground disturbing activities, an archaeological assessment be carried out by an archaeological license under the Ontario Heritage Act and submitted to the Ministry of Cultural Citizenship and Multiculturalism. A letter issued by the MCM indicating that the reports have been entered into the Ontario Public Register of Archaeological Reports must be provided to the township, and the recommendations are to be implemented to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer, Land Division Committee of Adjustments. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by member Stover and seconded by member Ainsworth. Any further discussion?
I just wondered if you would like to read number 9.
Oh, did I miss that? Thank you. That $300 be paid for the issuance of a certificate of officially in accordance with bylaw 78-2024 fees and charges. Thank you. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to our next application, which is an application for consent by Stephen and Jacqueline Banks. The number is PLN 202539, consent application. Madam, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, the purpose of the application is to sever a parcel for a new residential lot from 281 Leach Road and part of lot 16, concession 9. A portion of the residential lot is intended to allow for hobby farm activities. The subject property was previously subject to severance application B 1597, which created a residential lot known as 209 Leach Road. The proposed lot area is 2.10 hectares on the severed lot with 102 meters of frontage, and the retained lot will be 8.2 hectares and 395.41 meters of frontage. The subject lands are municipally known as 281 Leach Road, which is currently about 10.3 hectares in size and has frontage on the open portion of Leach Road. The property is located north of County Road 29 with access on Leach Road. The northern portion of the property has a steep downward slope immediately east of Leach Road, with the southern portion being much flatter and is currently under farmland use. There's an existing residence in the central portion of the property. Lands to the east of the property are entirely rural farmland, with the west of the property being primarily newer residential dwellings. The proposed lot is an open area with no natural heritage features of note, and the subject lands are located outside of the Oak Ridges Moraine. Within the provincial policy statement, it is considered rural due to the rural designation in our official plan, and sections 2.5 and 2.6 permit residential development, including lot creation where site conditions are suitable. In accordance with the PPS and our official plan, minimum distance separation is required to ensure that there would be a building envelope available for the severed lot. Section 4.6 does not permit development or site alteration on lands containing archaeological resources or potential. Due to the presence of a water course in proximity to the subject property, an assessment is required in accordance with the criteria for evaluating archaeological potential provided by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, and Sport. The application is consistent with the PPF based on meeting the conditions. The county's official plan designates the property as rural as well, and it also permits the residential use. The proposed consent application is permitted by that plan. Our official plan in the township also designates it as rural and supports the residential development. Section 3.7 requires the MDF to be compliant. The applicant's consultant did provide MDS calculations, which demonstrates conformity with that section. The section 7.4.2 indicates archaeological potential needs to be addressed. And so based on that and the conditions, the proposal is in compliance with the policies of the township and county's official plan. Currently, the property is zoned rural within the zoning bylaw, which does permit the residential use and hobby farm uses as well. The minimum lot size area is 5 hectares and the minimum lot frontage is 60 meters. The retained lands will have a lot size of 8.2 hectares as noted and significant frontage, therefore it will conform to that zoning. Should the future resident on the severed lands wish to establish a hobby farm that includes livestock, they will need to comply with the provisions found in section 4.16 of the bylaw and to demonstrate compliance with the minimum distance separation formula should they wish to construct a livestock or manure storage facility. In terms of the severed lot, the proposed lot area is 2.1 hectares. Therefore, rezoning to rural residential will be required to address the deficient lot size, which is required in the rural zone of 5 hectares. The application was submitted to a number of departments and agencies for review. Public Works had advised that there's no issues with obtaining an entrance on the Leach Road for the severed portion, and the building department had no concerns, although building permits will be required on the severed portion. County planning had no objection to the proposal. They did note the requirement for minimum distance separation in archaeology, which has been addressed. County Inspection Services noted the requirement for sewage system permits. Lower Trent had no objection to the approval. Alderville First Nation advised that once the landowners plan on building the newly created residential lot, archaeology should be completed ahead of any ground disturbing activities. Hydro One advised that the property is abutting or bisected by a high voltage transmission corridor. They have no objection in principle to the proposed severance, provided the easements are protected and maintained. They advise that placement of permanent structures, facilities, or landscaping within the transmission corridor is prohibited without their written approval. Notice of the application was circulated and a sign was posted on the property. We did not receive any submissions on the proposal. The proposed severance will create a new residential lot with access to Beach Road, and it may contain a hobby farm for which it is supported by the local and county policies. The application does maintain the intent of the official plan and the county's official plan and is consistent with the provincial planning statement, provided the conditions of approval are satisfied. In addition to the typical standard conditions, there is the requirement for an archaeological assessment to be done and a zoning bylaw amendment to address the lot area. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Webster. Does any member of the public have any questions for Tracy? Seeing none? Wait, hold on, online. Is there anybody online that has a question or comments regarding, or questions regarding this application? Or Tracy? Doesn't look like we have any. Does council have any questions or comments, or pardon me, questions for planner? Seeing none? Is the applicant here today? Would they like to speak? Bob, sure, go ahead.
Bob, push the little button.
Oh,
The white one.
White button.
There you are.
Thank you. I'm present and I'm certainly able to answer any questions that council may have. I think that your secretary has done a very thorough job of reviewing the application, and I didn't see any issues with either the report that was prepared, and we have reviewed the conditions and are satisfied with the conditions.
thank you, Mr. Clark. I'll read the resolution. The application AH 2025 by Stephen and Jacqueline Banks, agent Bob Clark, to sever a parcel for a vacant rural residential lot in part lot 16, concession 9, geographically in the township of Haldeman, is approved subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. In addition to the registered survey, a geo-reference DWG file of the survey be provided in a format satisfactory to the township of and Northumberland County. That a draft transfer and certificate of official for the severed lands be submitted to the township. That a tax account for the subject property be paid up to date. Prior to any site alteration or ground disturbing activities, an archaeological assessment be carried out by an archaeologist licensed under the Ontario Heritage Act and submitted to the Ministry of Citizen and Multiculturalism, MCM. A letter issued by the MCM indicating that the reports has been entered into the Ontario Public Registry of Archaeological Reports must be provided to the township, and the recommendations are to be implemented to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer, Land Division Committee, the Committee of Adjustment. That zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed parcel pursuant to the Planning Act. The cash in lieu of parkland to be paid to the township of Alma Haldeman. A rate of 5% of the value of the land that day before approval was granted. The value of the land is to be determined by a certified appraisal or sale price of the land, provided it occurs within 12 months of the appropriate approved date, and that $300 be paid for the insurance of the certificate of official in accordance with bylaw 78-2024 fees and charges. Can I get a member to approve? Moved by member Ainsworth, seconded by deputy mayor, seconded by member, sorry, Stover. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Vote, that motion is carried. Next, we have an application for consent by Robert and Frida Kennedy, PLN 2025-40, application for consent. Madam Secretary, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, the purpose of the application is to sever 2.26 hectares or 55 acres of property to donate to a nonprofit entity for natural heritage conservation within lot 8, concession 4. Property owners intend to transfer much of their property to the Northumberland Land Trust for conservation. They will retain a lot of 8.9 hectares with 220 meters of frontage. The subject property is located in the northeastern corner of the publicly maintained portion of Dixon Drive. The property is developed with a single detached dwelling, attached garage, detached garage, and a shed. Much of the property is heavily forested, and the owner's residence is the primary structure. The retained property will contain residential space, with the severed lands being entirely woodlands. Within the retained lot, there are 2 dilapidated structures that are planned to be removed and returned to nature. Dixon Drive transitions from a year-round to a seasonal road and travels north along the eastern limits of the subject lands. The owner indicated that he owns this road allowance, and even though it is mapped as a township road, being seasonally maintained on Schedule B of the official plan. This was verified through a title search. The owner indicated that there is an easement on Dixon Road for traveling with the Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance. Surrounding land uses are primarily rural residences with farmlands or woodlands, with the area being sparsely populated. There is a semi-buried watercourse that runs adjacent to Dixon Drive, southeast of the property, and there is not believed to be any livestock in the vicinity. Adjacent properties follow the typical rural and Oak Ridges moraine land uses. There are several unidentified wetlands in the immediate area of the subject property. There's a small swamp on the retained portion near the residence. There's a large area of marsh and swamp on the southeast of Dixon Road. The northeast access, the northeast across from the private right-of-way, there's more unevaluated wetlands. These features are not expected to be altered or impacted in any way by the proposal. The subject property is designated rural and Oak Ridges Moraine Core within the official plan. The rural area sections and natural heritage sections of the PPF or provincial planning statement apply. The rural areas in the PPS support conserving biodiversity and considering the ecological benefits provided by nature. This application is supportive of those endeavors. The PPS also states that natural features and areas shall be protected for the long term, and the diversity and connectivity of natural features in an area and the long-term ecological function and biodiversity of natural heritage systems should be maintained, restored, or where possible improved, recognizing linkages among natural heritage features and areas, surface water features and groundwater features, which the intent of this application will provide for. Lower Trent indicated that the subject property contains undulating topography and is entirely forested surrounding the existing residential development. Unevaluated wetlands are mapped, and the areas extending into the retained land. The application is consistent as no natural hazards were identified on the property, and the applicant is not providing or proposing to develop. Within the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan, the property, as noted, is designated natural core, and this designation is to maintain, where possible, improve or restore the ecological integrity of the plan area, which this proposal will do. The section that provides for consents does allow for dedication to nonprofit entities for preservation. Within the county's official plan, the property is designated Oak Ridges Moraine and rural areas in the southern third of the portion of the property. And it was identified that the proposal is consistent with that plan. The proposal is also designated rural and Oak Ridges Moraine within the township's official plan, and the proposal is consistent as noted. And in accordance with the zoning bylaw, the property is zoned rural and Oak Ridges Moraine Core and Oak Ridges Moraine Environmental. The rural zone does permit conservation area and includes recreational activities among other uses. The proposal is consistent with the zoning. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies, and there were no concerns identified through that review. the public was notified. Unfortunately, there was an error with our GIS system. The property, there are multiple properties that are addressed with 336. The owner owns both pieces. One's a larger portion, one's a smaller portion, and unfortunately, the buffer, 60-meter buffer was placed on the smaller portion and did not capture property owners to the north. So we will have to hold a second public meeting in September. So we will schedule another meeting for that to make sure we're in compliance with the Planning Act requirements for notification. I have made the applicant aware of that error. The proposed severance will create a new lot that is to be transferred to the Northumberland Land Trust for the purpose of land conservation. It was confirmed that the seasonal portion of Dixon Drive is under the ownership of the property owner and not the township. A condition is recommended requiring the forest road allowance to be dedicated to the township. The seasonal road is used recreational by ATV riders. A survey of the forest road would be necessary to complete the transfer of those lands. This provides an opportunity to clear up the title of the road allowance and possibly remove liability for its use by others from the property owner. The application is consistent with the intent of the what's called an official plan and is consistent with the PPF. I have provided recommendations for approval, but I would advise that the application be deferred until the September meeting to provide the opportunity for appropriate public circulation. Should it be approved at that point, we are recommending standard conditions of approval in addition to the transfer of the road allowance. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. If you're recommending that this be deferred, I would suggest that we do that, and I'm going to ask council if they are approve of that, and then we'll continue on this discussion at the next meeting when everyone has had an opportunity to look at it. So, can I go ahead?
Sorry to interrupt. I think there may be people here that may have some questions, and the deferral may provide the opportunity for us to look into their questions and provide additional detail in the report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there members of the public that want to have any questions for the Madam Secretary? Yes, go ahead. Can you come to the front, please?
Sure. My name is Eleanor Olmsted. I own 70 acres immediately adjacent to the land in question. So right to the west.
To the west.
So I own 720 feet of frontage on Dixon Road. And then the property runs approximately a mile to the north. So
Okay.
I wasn't notified. I did do extensive work on my property when I purchased it. I'm concerned about the effect this may have on Dixon Road and the fact that Dixon Road is a forest road, et cetera. So I'm wondering if it's possible for me to access the research that's been done with respect to Dixon Road and how Dixon Road operates, because it's complicated.
I'm gonna have to ask Madam to, and I would agree that it is complicated, because if I look at a Google map, it is quite a bit different information that Tracy has provided. And I'm talking about which road is which and where one road starts and one road stops. And it's probably, as Tracy said, it's a little bit of a mix-up or confusing for sure. Tracy, you have a comment?
I would reach out to our legal team to see if what is appropriate to share. I can set up a meeting with Ms. Olmsted. I believe if the property is to the west, I'm wondering if it's the Gleason Road that would be abutting Ms. Olmsted's property.
No, it's actually Dixon Road, but Dixon Road is a forest road even where I am. So I'm not sure how, Well, actually, I have two concerns. One is just the maintenance of the road in terms of a fire protection opportunity. I had a managed forest and I had to maintain a road through it for fire protection. So I'm concerned that if we take away the opportunity to have a road allowance there, we may lose the opportunity to have a fire protection road. That's one thing. And secondly, I know Dixon Road is a forest road, even starting at the corner. And it's very complicated legally because I researched it myself at one point when I purchased the property. So my concern is with respect to the conveyance of the road allowance mostly.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll look into it further and we can set up a time to chat with Ms. Olmsted.
thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from members of the public, either here or attending virtually? Oh, go ahead, Mary Catherine.
I'm just gonna make a comment that I often walk that loop by your places, so I'm gonna wave next time I'm going by.
I see no interest in commenting on this, so if everybody's willing, we'll defer. And I'll ask Counselor.
I believe the applicant would like to speak.
Oh, okay. Frida?
Hi, Sabrina Hasselfelt from Northumberland Land Trust. I'm acting as the agent for Robin Frida Kennedy. I just wanted to note that because the landowners are generously donating this land to the land trust, we'd like the process to move as quickly as possible because we are running on funding timelines for the fees associated with the severance for the severed lot. So that's the only comment I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just want to clarify her comment. Sabrina, what is the date that you are hoping to have a response from us?
Our deadline to officially transfer the lands to the land trust would be December 31st of this year. So we would need the severance to be approved by hopefully September, and then we can do the appropriate surveys and submit them to the township.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Yeah.
Counselor Booth, would you like to make the motion to defer?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder? Seconder, Counselor Ainsworth, seconds. All in favor? That motion is carried. Our next application for consent is through Ventress Homes Incorporated, AH 122025. Madam, please take us through this one.
Thank you. Through the chair, the purpose of the application is to create an easement for a shared driveway between lots 1 and 29 on Plan 30M 965 in Grafton Heights subdivision. The subject property is located on the west side of Lyle Street North on the south side of Vista View Terrace in the Grafton Heights subdivision. Due to the slope along the south limits of lot 29, it makes it difficult to accommodate a driveway onto Vista View Terrace. An easement is proposed between the two lots for a shared driveway. The need for the easement was addressed in the subdivision agreement for the related subdivision application. The subject property is designated hamlet, therefore it is identified as conforming to or being consistent with section 2.3.1 of the provincial planning statement. Settlement areas are intended to be the focus of residential development within municipalities, and that they should be the focus of growth and development. Permitted uses include the residential use. The application is consistent with that, with the PPS. The county's official plan designates the property as a rural settlement area, and it maintains the intent of that official plan. And it is also designated hamlet in the township's official plan, which also supports residential development. The section 4.21 of the official plan also requires frontage on year-round maintained roads, which this lot does have. The zoning bylaw zones the property as hamlet residential number 32, which does permit the use, and the lot area and frontage is in conformity. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies. There were no concerns identified. The county indicated that the proposal will not have any adverse impacts on their roads or infrastructure. The waste management indicated that waste collection would be in conformity, would need to conform with the waste bylaw 08/2023. Lower Trent had no concerns. Alderville First Nation had asked for additional information, which was provided, and no additional comments were received from them. Notice of the application was circulated to property owners within 60 meters. One resident did visit our office to get clarification on the application, and additional details were provided to them. The application is consistent, and we are recommend with the PPS and conforms to the official plan and zoning bylaw. Therefore, we're recommending approval with standard conditions for the draft transfer and tax account, the tax account to be up to date, and payment for the certificate of official. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Does any member of the public have questions regarding this application? Or virtually? Doesn't look like there's any. So, council, do you have any questions regarding this application? I just have one, and it's probably not that relevant, but are there other ones in this subdivision that are going to need the same request?
No. Sorry, through the chair. No, this is the only two lots that would require a shared driveway.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Is there applicant here? Yes, hi. How are you today? Do you have any questions for the madam?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, I'll read the resolution. It is recommended the township that the Land Division Committee / Committee of Adjustment for the Corporation of the Township of Allenwood Haldeman enact as follows. That applicant AH 12-2025 by Colin Milner, Ventus Homes Incorporated for Fox Lane Mistral Holdings Incorporated to create an easement over land located in part of Lot 23, Concession 1, geographically in the Township of Haldeman, Lot 1, Plan 39 M965, Part 40 on 39R14930 is hereby approved subject to the following conditions. That a draft transfer and certificate of official for the easement be submitted to the township. That the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date, and that $300 be paid for the issuance of the certificate of official in accordance with bylaw 78/2024 fees and charges. Then I get to move in a second. Moved by member Stover, seconded by member O'Neill. Any discussion? Further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Next, we have an applicant for consent by Beatrice Davis, and the agent is Karen Cornell, and it's AH 132025. Madam.
Thank you. Through the chair.
Please go ahead.
The purpose of the application is to sever a parcel of land from concession 7, part lots 1 and 2, for a lot addition to a property located at 510 Clarkson Road within part lot 2, concession 7, Alderman. No development or site alteration is proposed. The subject property is at the easterly limits of the township on the north side of Dunbar Road with frontage on Clarkson Road at its north end. The property is within the Oak Ridges Moraine and is developed with a single detached dwelling, a detached garage, a swimming pool, and a tennis court. These structures are located in the southmost end of the property away from the proposed severance. The dwelling and severed lot are not connected by any interior pathways. The proposed severed lands consist primarily of woodland and shields the frontage of 510 Clarkson Road from the road. The majority of the property is either woodland or agricultural cropland. The recipient property consists of residential at its north end and wooded areas at its south. The lot addition will add the wooded area to the property and provide visual separation for the residents from Clarkson Road. There are unevaluated wetlands on the north side of Clarkson Road and smaller swamps to the west and north that are not expected to be affected by the proposal. The property is designated natural core within the township's official plan. This designation has a high concentration of natural heritage features, hydrological sensitive features, and landform conservation areas. The property is also within the rural areas that does allow for the lot addition. There are 2 horse stables to the south of the donor property that are at quite a distance from the proposed severance and will not affect the application in any way. A dwelling is not permitted or proposed, so MDS is not applicable. The natural section 4 of the PPS indicates natural heritage features are to be protected for the long term. The applicant is not proposing any development or site alteration, therefore the application is consistent. Lower Trent Conservation indicated that the property does contain the headwater tributary of Salt Creek and 2 agricultural ponds are present on the site, which appear to be regenerating. There are unevaluated wetlands on the north side of Clarkson Road and south side of Dunbar Road. Based on their review and the characteristics of the water course, there's not a need for floodplain mapping at this time, and the application is deemed to be conforming with section 5.2 of the PPS. The property is located within the Oak Ridges Moraine as noted. The Oak Ridges Moraine plan does permit for the addition of adjacent land to an existing lot, provided it does not result in the creation of a lot that's undersized for the purpose for which it is being used. Both the severed and retained lands are conforming with the zoning, therefore the lot areas are sufficient. The county's official plan also designates the property as Oak Ridges Moraine, and it has been determined to be consistent with their official plan. And our official plan also designates the property as natural core as noted, and the proposal is consistent with those policies. The property is zoned Oak Ridges Moraine Core, Oak Ridges Moraine Environmental, and Oak Ridges Moraine Plan Review within the zoning bylaw. The proposed severed lot is entirely within the Oak Ridges Moraine Core and Oak Ridges Moraine Environmental zones. Those zones do permit a wide range of use, including fish, wildlife, and forest management, conservation projects, along with other uses. The Oak Ridges Moraine Plan Review overlay is identified, and it does protect for evaluations should any development be proposed in the future. The proposal was circulated to a number of departments and agencies, and no concerns were identified. The proposal was circulated to all property owners within 60 meters of the property. A neighbor owner did call to inquire. They had no concerns noted through that conversation. The proposed lot, as noted, is in the rural part of the municipality, southeast of the hamlet of Burnley, and the applicant proposes to transfer the wooded areas to the adjacent property. Applicable policies permit this lot addition. We are recommending approval of the application with typical conditions and confirmation from the applicant's lawyer that the lot addition will be consolidated with the existing property and that they will merge together. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Members of the public, do you have any questions regarding this application? Virtually anybody on screen that would like to ask the questions? Seeing none, members of the council, do you have any questions or committee? Greg's okay. Is there an applicant here today?
Recipient,
Oh, okay,
Karen Cornell, recipient, and thank you to the planning committee. Thank you.
thank you. I'm gonna read the recommendation. Recommendation is that the application AH 13-2025 by Beatrice Davids, agent Karen Cornell, to sever a parcel of land for the addition of a vacant lot in parts of lot 1 and 2, concession 7, geographically in the township of Haldeman, is hereby approved subject to the following conditions. That a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. In addition, the registered survey, geo-referenced DWG file of the survey be provided in a format satisfactory to the township and Northumberland County. That a draft transfer and draft certificate of official for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. That a tax account for the subject property be paid up to date. That the severed parcel be deemed as a lot addition to the recipient property and the applicant's lawyer submit an understanding to register a consolidation of title giving effect to the lot addition. That the applicant's lawyer submit a legal opinion verifying that the lot addition lands will merge on the title with the recipient parcel under the Planning Act. And that $300 be paid for the issuance of a certificate of official in accordance with bylaw 78-2024 fees and charges. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by member Stolberg, seconded by member O'Neill. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move on to next application, an application to conditions of consent amendment, pardon me, to conditions of assent. And this is AH 16-2024 by the Baskerville. Tracy, please go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. Approval of application 16-2024 resulted in the conditional approval of a rural residential lot. The application was approved with the condition requiring an archaeological site assessment to be prepared. This condition did not speak to the recommendations of the assessment. Stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment was completed by S&G Archaeological Consulting dated June the 2nd, 2025. The assessment identified 2 archaeological sites, both of which retain cultural and heritage value of interest. The proposed amending condition will provide for the development agreement to be registered on the retained lot to secure for mitigation measures related to the installation of a driveway within the monitoring zones of the discovered sites. The assessment is available from the planning department upon request. Supplemental documentation identifying the location of the archaeological sites with cultural and heritage value and interest will be kept confidential to aid in the protection of those sites. It is appropriate to amend the conditions of approval to provide the ability to require the development application. And I want to note that I have provided the clerk with a revised bylaw based on further clarification from the archaeologists and the archaeologists with Alderville First Nations, so that there are additional words added for clarity on making sure the recommendations are appropriately applied. Thank you.
Thank you. And is that coming up in the bylaw?
Yes, and I can read out that bylaw at that time.
Thank you. So the recommendation is that the conditions of consent approval for AH 162024, which conditionally approve the creation of a new rural residential lot in Part Lot 4, Concession A, geographically in the Township of Haldeman, which was approved by the Committee of Adjustment on October 22nd, 2024, be amended by revising the following condition. As item 5, that an archaeological site assessment be prepared by a qualified professional, e.g. archaeologist, and submitted for review. The applicant must provide acknowledgement of acceptance of the assessment from the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. And we'll be adding the following words at the end of the paragraph. The recommendations are to be implemented to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer, Land Division Committee, and the Committee of Adjustment. Does anyone have any members of the public have any questions on this application? We'll look virtually to see if anybody is interested in that as well. Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry, we do have one. Oh, Mr. Bakersville, you have a question or a comment to the planner?
No, just wanted to say we acknowledge what were the findings we found. There, can you hear me?
Yes, but it's kind of muffled, so please start again if you would.
Okay, hopefully this is a little better. We acknowledge the findings that were made there for both the early European settlement in the wooded section and the piece of flint. So we'll make sure we adhere to the process and the procedures required as stated out by our archaeologist.
You have a comment, Madam Planner?
No, that's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bakersfield. Any other questions you have? Or comments? Any other members of the public have any questions or comments? Members of council? Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by committee member O'Neill, second by committee member Stover. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Next, we have amendment to condition of consent for AH 162023, AH 172023, and AH 182023. Madam Chair.
Thank you through the chair. The approval of applications A16 2023, A17 2023, and A18 2023 resulted in the conditional approval of 3 rural residential lots. The application was approved with a condition acquiring an archaeological site assessment to be prepared. The condition did not speak to the recommendations of the assessment. A stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment was completed by Northeastern Archaeological Associates in June 18th of 2024. The assessment concluded that the conditionally approved lots did not possess any archaeological resources. However, it did recommend that development be proposed on the subject property that extends beyond the assessed boundaries, which would be the retained lands. An additional assessment would be required due to the proximity of Rice Lake Estates and other known sites of archaeological resources. So a development agreement is required to ensure that is secured for the owners have signed off on the agreement, which is contained in a bylaw later in the council agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the public, anybody want to make a comment or have a question for our planner? Seeing none, members of council? Seeing none, is the applicant have any questions, or is the applicant online? Doesn't appear to be. I'll read the resolution. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Allen Haldeman enact as follows. It is recommended the committee of adjustment, the land division committee of the corporation of the township of Allen Haldeman enact as follows. That the condition of consent for AH 16-2023, AH 17-2023, and AH 18-203, which conditionally approved the creation of 3 new rural residential lots in Part Lot 9, Concession 3, geographically in the township of Allenwick, which was approved by the Committee of Adjustments on November 28, 2023, be amended by revising the following condition. That an archaeological site assessment be prepared by a qualified professional, e.g. archaeologist, and submitted for review. The applicant must provide acknowledgement of acceptance of the assessment from the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. And by adding the following words at the end of the paragraph. The recommendations are to be implemented to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer of the Land Division Committee of Adjustment. Can I get a mover? Moved by committee member Stover, seconded by committee member O'Neill. Are there any further discussions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Moving on to minor variances. We have an application for a minor variance from Carmelo and Rose Tuctillo.
Almost.
Almost. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you tell me how to do that?
Tuchito.
Tuchito. It's very easy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, madam.
Thank you, through the chair. The 1,132 square meter per subject property has an existing cottage and accessory structure on the site. Since the lot is a waterfront property, the rear yard is considered to abut Sandy Bay Road, while the front yard abuts Rice Lake. The side yard setback is proposed to be reduced from 2.77 meters to 1.2 meters to accommodate an addition, while the lot coverage will remain under the maximum requirement under the zoning. The subject property is located on Rice Lake on the north side of Sandy Bay Road. There are cottages on the east and west side of the property. Rice Lake is located to the north, and a large vacant property across from the subject property is located to the south. The property has been designated rural in the township's official plan. Although the property is mapped with environmental protection, section 5.12.3 specifies that the boundaries of the environmental protection designation are approximate, and it's intended for the boundaries to be delineated in the implementing zoning bylaw. Since the zoning bylaw is newer than the official plan, it has placed the property in a limited service residential zone. Therefore, the lands are considered to be designated rural. The provincial planning statement does permit the recreational and residential uses in the rural area. Section 4.6 does not permit development and site alteration on lands containing archaeological resources or areas of archaeological potential unless the resources have been conserved. Due to the presence of the watercourse, wetlands, and Rice Lake in proximity to the site, an archaeological assessment is required. The side yard setback is proposed to be reduced, which will help keep expansion of the cottage away from the lake, which helps to address the natural heritage policies of the PPS. The Lower Trent Conservation reviewed the application, and in terms of natural hazards, which is section 5.2 of the PPS, Rice Lake is considered the smallest of the large inland lakes. Section 5.2.2 is applied to this application, which directs development away from the hazardous shorelines of the inland lakes. which are impacted by flooding. Floodplain mapping is available for the shoreline, and the proposed development appears to be outside of that. Therefore, Lower Trent has determined the proposal is consistent with section 5.2 of the PPS. Provided the conditions are adhered to, the proposal is consistent with the PPS. The county has designated the property as rural areas, which does permit the use. And our township official plan also designates the property as rural, which recognizes the seasonal dwellings. The Planning Act and the township's official plan set out 4 tests for evaluating minor variance applications. These 4 tests are that the variance must be minor. It must be desirable and appropriate development or use of the land. The variance must maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and the variance must maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan. The proposed building footprint will not be located closer to Rice Lake than the previous cottage. Only the east interior side yard setback is proposed to be reduced. The cottage use has been established on the property and is consistent with the township's official plan, which permits non-farm related residential uses and provides for the continuing of existing uses. Within the zoning bylaw, the property is zoned shoreline residential with a flood line on Schedule A. A seasonal dwelling is permitted in that zone category. The proposed variant seeks relief from section 4.11.6 of the bylaw to further reduce the interior to east side setback from 2.7 meters to 1.24. The balance of the regulations will not be further reduced from what was achieved by the footprint of the original cottage. The proposed variance maintains the intent of the township's zoning bylaw, which permits the continuation of legally existing buildings and structures. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies. Public Works noted that the property does not currently have a driveway and that the owner will be required to apply for an entrance permit. A building permit application had been submitted. However, it is pending planning and septic approval. Northumberland County noted that there had not appeared to be extensive or intensively disturbed areas within 300 meters of the water course. Therefore, an archaeological assessment is recommended. Otherwise, they had no objections to the proposal and noted a sewage system permit is required. Lower Trent advised that the property is subject to Ontario Regulation 4124, and a permit is required for the addition of septic installation. A permit amendment is required to bring on-site activities that had occurred into regulatory compliance. Based on the conditions, they advise that the proposal is conformity, provided they get a permit amendment. The application was circulated to owners within the vicinity, and we had not received any comments from the public. I was contacted by Alderville First Nations. I'm just going to pull up an email that I can summarize. So an archaeological firm had contacted Alderville to visit the site while they conduct the assessments. It was noted that when they arrived, the site has already been disturbed and they have discovered artifacts of indigenous origin. From the work that had occurred, there was a stop work order issued by our chief building official on May the 22nd. Alderville First Nation will be working with the archaeological firm on next steps for the disturbed archaeological site. Their main priority is to recover and protect as much as possible from the property. They note the conditions recommendation In the staff report was, for the archaeological assessment, which we have further discussed, for clarity. And they had asked questions about an a development agreement. And I made note that an agreement may be required based on the findings of the archaeological assessment, and we will not be able to sign off on permits based on the condition until the archaeological assessments are completed to satisfaction of the ministry, and the ministry provides clearance for that. The applicant will have to adhere to any recommendations that come out of the archaeological assessment. So based on review of the proposal, we have determined that it does meet the 4 tests for a variance. It is minor in nature. The reduction in the side yard setback will allow for the addition while maintaining or improving the balance of the setbacks, including the setback to Rice Lake. There's adequate frontage to provide parking on the property. The variance is desirable and appropriate for the land. The existing use is permitted and is consistent with surrounding uses. The general intent of the official plan has been maintained. The general intent of the zoning bylaw is also maintained. It does allow for existing buildings and structures and uses to be permitted to continue. Since obtaining a septic permit and approvals are considered applicable law, the applicant will have to demonstrate how they can meet the Ontario Building Code for private sanitary systems regardless of receiving the variance. We have included conditions with our recommendation to ensure conformity, which requires the submission of an archaeological assessment to be carried out by an archaeologist under the license under the Ontario Heritage Act and submitted to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism prior to any site alteration or ground disturbing activities, which I've noted has already occurred. So the ministry will be involved in that process. We will require a letter to be issued by MCM indicating that the reports have been entered and accepted into the registry. There may be a requirement for a development agreement based on the outcomes of the archaeological assessment, and the applicants are required to provide a sewage system permit approval as well as an amendment to the Lower Trent Conservation Authority's permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate all the work. It sounds like you've been doing a lot of work to help the applicants to get this accomplished. So I thank you for that. Are there any members of the public that have questions or comments regarding this application? Members of council? Go ahead.
It's not specific to this, but this application shows the complexity of taking some of these pre-existing and then trying to move forward and make changes today. And so I think that's an issue as council. We need to think about what process can we get in place for this?
Okay.
Sorry, you're looking confused, but I just mean that statement. It is a statement, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Tuchito, you have any questions?
No comments or further questions.
Thank you. Was there any members of the public that were? And it does not appear that anybody, members of the public who are attending virtually, have any questions. So I'm going to read the resolution as prepared. That the application MV 01-2025 by Carmelo and Rose Tuchito for property legal described as part lot 23 concession 7 geographically in the township of Allenwick be approved to permit a minimum easterly interior side view width of 1.24 meters for an addition. And that is conditionally upon submission of an archaeological assessment and any further assessments as recommended carried out by an archaeologist licensed under the Ontario Heritage Act and submitted to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism prior to any site alteration or ground disturbing activities. A letter issued by the MCC indicating that the reports have been entered into the Ontario Public Registry of Archaeological Reports must be provided to the Township of Alma-Calderman, and the recommendations are to be implemented to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment. Number 2, enter into a development agreement with the Township if necessary to address the recommendations of the archaeological assessment. Number 3, that the owner provides an issued sewage system permit in accordance with the Building Code Act 1992 as amended, and that the owner provide an issued permit amendment for LTC permit P25078 to bring the on-site activities into regulatory and compliance. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Committee Member Ainsworth and seconded by Committee Member Stover. Any further questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. That concludes this portion of our meeting. So I'll need a motion to adjourn. That the Committee of Adjustment Land Division Committee meeting held on July 22nd, 2025 would be adjourned at 10:53 a.m. Did I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Committee Member Ainsworth, seconded by Committee Member O'Neill. Further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. And we're gonna go back to the regular meeting. Yes.
Could we just take a washroom break?
But before we get back into that meeting, we're gonna take a 10-minute break. So we'll return at about 11:05.
I did never think it was not helpful, but from the. Surprised about someone having a meeting.
Okay, is Greg back?
Yeah,
Okay, thanks, Greg. Okay, we're going to move into a public meeting. Oh, we have to reconvene first. Pardon me. We're going to reconvene to a municipal planning / regular council meeting. And the motion is that the council of the township of Alma-Calderman, being a land division committee or committee of adjustment, reconvene to the municipal planning regular council meeting at 11:05 a.m. Can I get a mover and a second? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? That motion is carried. And it is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Alma-Calderman enact as follows. The council go into a public meeting under section 34 of the Planning Act at 11:05 a.m. on July 22nd, 2025. And I need a mover and seconder for that as well. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. All in favor? Motion's carried. And the first one we're going to discuss is the zoning bylaw amendment for Philip and Carol Baker's Baskerville. Z072025. Madam Treasurer, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the mayor, on October the 22nd, 2024, the Land Division Committee approved application AH-16-2024 for the creation of an approximately 4.71 hectare rural residential lot, retaining an approximate 4.74 hectare lot. The application was submitted to satisfy the condition requiring a zoning amendment to address the severed and retained lot areas, which do not meet the minimum required 5 hectares and adequate setback to the 401 right-of-way to address potential noise impacts. The applicant was required to complete an archaeological assessment, and the recommendations of which are addressed in the zoning bylaw and development agreement that are in the bylaw portion of the agenda today. The subject property is located on Dudley Road, east of Heron, near the eastern boundary of the township. The property is developed with a Quonset hut, a barn, and a single detached residential dwelling. Most of the property is designed for grazing livestock, with trees demarcating the boundary, separating the property from the road. There's a sizable slope on the property towards the south, and the property is bordered by woodlands to its east and agricultural lands to the west. Across from Dudley Road, there's grasslands and detached residential dwellings. The provincial planning statement considers this a rural property as it is designated rural in the official plan. It does allow for lot creation for residential uses. Section 4.6 does not prevent development or site alteration on lands containing archaeological resources or areas of archaeological potential unless those resources have been conserved. A stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment has been completed and submitted to the ministry and the township. A portion of the retained lands are regulated by the Conservation Authority, who have reviewed the application in regards to the natural heritage policies contained in section 5.2. Based on their review, the characteristics of the watercourse and contributing drainage areas would not require floodplain mapping at this time. And in accordance with the MDS policies, there is a requirement to ensure that there's a building envelope available for the severed lot. There's an existing horse barn located at 557 Dudley Road, which is within 750 meters of the proposal. A setback of 103 meters or 338 feet is required, and the barn is well outside of that setback requirement. The county's official plan also designates the property as rural, and it does support the residential use. The township's plan also designates the property as rural, which allows for the creation of residential lots. It has frontage on Dudley Road, which is a year-round maintained road. And it also has, our official plan also has policies requiring MDS separation requirements to be met, which have been demonstrated. Section 3.22 indicates no new noise sensitive land uses shall be permitted where it's anticipated that the noise level will exceed provincial guidelines. The specified distance to 401 right of way is 500 meters, and there is adequate distance on the lot to develop outside of that 500-meter distance. Section 7.4.2 indicates that sites with archaeological potential shall require an assessment to be undertaken. Since the proposed development is within 300 meters of a water source, and it was also noted that Dudley Road is a historical road, the assessment is required. The proposal is consistent with the PPS and the official plans for the township and the county, provided the conditions are fulfilled. Within the zoning bylaw, the property is zoned rural. It permits a wide range of uses, including single detached dwellings. However, a 5-hectare lot area is required based on the proposed 4.71 and 4.74 hectare lots. Rezoning is required to rural residential. To address the findings of the archaeological assessment and to prohibit, I'm just going to pull up an email, sorry. I had some clarification on this. So to address the findings of the archaeological assessment and prohibit ground disturbance, a holding symbol will be placed in the area where 2 identified sites have been determined and will be registered. A driveway, it can be permitted within a buffer distance recommended by the stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment. Any development work relating to the installation of the driveway within these areas will need to be monitored by a licensed archaeologist. This will avoid the need for a stage 3 archaeological assessment. It's not necessarily, I had some clarification from the archaeologist at First Nations that it's not really avoiding the need for the stage 3 assessment. It's in lieu of a comprehensive stage 3 and potential stage 4 assessment. Should something of importance of note be uncovered during the monitoring work would have to cease, and then a stage 3 or 4 assessment would then need to be conducted. So I have provided some amendments to the bylaw, which I'll read during the bylaw portion, to address that clarification, as well as clarification from the applicant's archaeologist. So the work will require a development agreement to ensure that the driveway is located in a location that's consistent with the recommendations of the stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment, and the appropriate protection measures are in place prior to commencing work on site. That involves fencing off the sensitive areas to ensure construction doesn't happen within those locations. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies. County planning had no objection. They did note the requirement for the stage 1 and 2 assessment, and noted the recommendation requiring restrictive fencing be applied. We'll need confirmation from the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism that they have acknowledged the their report. So if there's any adjustments to the reports, we'll need to deal with ensuring those recommendations are also included through the development agreement. Alderville First Nations did indicate that the assessment on the Indigenous site, the assessment did uncover Indigenous site on the property. The proposed work will be taking place within a 50-meter monitoring buffer zone. An archaeologist is required to attend that monitoring, and Alderville First Nations wishes to be notified when construction activity is occurring and would like to attend as well. As noted, the stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment was completed by AFNG Archaeological Consulting, dated June the 2nd, 2025. The assessment identified 2 sites. One is a pre-contact woodland period campsite where 170 artifacts were recovered and retained. A second 19th century farmstead was discovered and 166 artifacts were recovered and retained. Both sites have cultural and heritage value and interest. The 2 archaeological sites have potential for archaeological resources of additional cultural heritage value or interest to be discovered. For this reason, the site requires a stage 3 site-specific archaeological assessment. The remainder of the proposed severed lands outside of the 70-meter protective limit, so there's a 50 plus another 20-meter buffer, of the 2 archaeological sites was found to have no archaeological resources and is considered to have been cleared of all archaeological concern. The archaeologist advised that a driveway can be installed within the 50-meter monitoring zone without, in lieu of the stage 3 and 4 assessments, provided that construction in that area is monitored by the licensed archaeologist. No construction activities can take place within a 20-meter buffer area of the find site. Prior to undertaking any construction within a 50-meter buffer, they will need to erect fencing to show the no-go buffer zones to avoid at all costs of disturbance by construction personnel. A development agreement is required to ensure these conditions are met. The assessment is available from the planning department upon request. However, the supplemental documentation identifying the location of the sites with cultural heritage value and interest will be kept confidential to aid in the protection of those sites. The application was circulated to all registered owners within 120 meters of the property and signs were posted. We did not hear from anybody at the time of the writing of the report. The conditionally approved severed lots is located in a rural part of the municipality on Dudley Road, a year-round maintained road. It is appropriately sized lot and is compatible with the area. As noted, the development agreement is required to ensure mitigation measures are implemented. And based on the recommendations of the assessment, of the archaeological assessment, a holding symbol is proposed to be placed on the site to satisfy the condition of approval for the severance. And I can provide a verbal read of the bylaws during that portion of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. I just have one thought. Maybe you read it when you referred to the public works. Have they decided where they're going to put the entrance, or is that been discussed?
I believe they'll need to get a permit. So the permit, I think we'll have to consult with Public Works about making sure that they're aware of the requirements for the assessment and that no culvert installations are to happen by our staff without the presence of an archaeologist.
Yeah. And there's probably, if I know the location properly, there's probably a good place to put it too, because it's down a hill and you hit the valley there and everything else. So I think it's probably good to coordinate and make sure you're both able to meet whatever you need to meet. Okay, thank you, Tracy. Are there members of the public that are interested in or have a question for Madam? Seeing none here, and it looks like there's nobody virtually that has a question. I'll open it up to council. Any members of council? Deputy Mayor Stover, please go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lobo. Thank you, Tracy. This has been very involved and detailed. When you were reading it, you mentioned that First Nations would like to be on site. Is there a cost for them to be on site? Do you know?
I believe there may be a small fee required. I would have to confirm with First Nations. I know that the Alderville First Nations has retained an archaeologist on their staff who has attended other sites, and they had staff at the site, I believe, when they conducted the assessment, and that's a typical process that archaeologist takes, and I think it's in accordance with the guidelines by the ministry that consultation and engagement needs to happen through the assessments that are occurring.
Thank you. I was just wondering about the cost, but great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other members of council have a question? Seeing none, I'll read the motion. It is recommended the council of the township of Allen-McCullough enact as follows. Oh, I guess there is nothing, it was just a public reading, there's no recommendation on that. Well, there is nothing there. We'll discuss that further on in the meeting when we get to the bylaws. It is recommended the council of the township of Allen-McCullough enact as follows, that the public meeting be adjourned and that the council of the township of Allen-McCullough reconvene to the municipal planning regular council meeting at 11:20 a.m. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by, Councillor Booth, can you second that for us? Thank you.
Yes, second, yes.
All in favor? That's carried. Moving on to planning department reports. And the first one is zoning bylaw application Z06025, and that application has been withdrawn, so we'll move on. And we'll move on to number 12.1, which is a planning bylaw. And that was deferred from June 24th, but the application has been withdrawn, as we discussed earlier, so we'll move right along. We're going into bylaw number 60-2025, a zoning bylaw amendment. Bylaw 60-2025, zoning bylaw amendment, Z05-2025 is it on the 22nd day of July 2025. Do you have any comments?
Through the chair, I did message the clerk, I believe, that with a revised bylaw. I'm asking, do I need to read the entire thing or just the parts that have been revised?
Just revisions.
Okay, so I'm just going to read the text that will amend the bylaw to make sure it is clear. So the bylaw will amend section 7.4 of bylaw 19/2019 by adding the following new subsection. Section 13.8.12 RR 72-8 part lot 4 concession A, the geographic Haldeman. A, on land zoned rural residential exception number 72 RR-72, a driveway is permitted to be installed in accordance with the provisions of a development agreement registered on the title of the property prior to lifting the holding symbol. B, notwithstanding section 4.17, no development, site alteration, or ground disturbing activities, including agriculture and landscaping, may occur until the holding zone symbol H is removed in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act RSO 1990 CP13 and the Ontario Heritage Act RSO 1990 C018. The holding symbol shall only be removed once a stage 3 archaeological assessment and any further assessments as recommended have been carried out by an archaeologist licensed under the Ontario Heritage Act and submitted to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, MCM. A letter issued by the MCM indicating that the report or reports have been entered into the Ontario Public Register of Archaeological Reports must be provided to the township and the recommendations completed. The balance of the bylaw remains the same as before. Thank you.
Thank you. So the bylaw number 62025 as amended, and I believe that that's what Tracy just read to us,
Sorry, bylaw 60.
62025.
Yeah.
Right?
60-2025.
Yes.
I thought you said 62, sorry.
62025, and Tracy has provided the amendments, being a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw amendment for application Z052025 for part lot 4 concession A Haldeman, be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 22nd day of July 2025. So I can move in a second. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? That motion is carried. And next bylaw is number 612025. Execute a development agreement with Bolduc, Knox, Bolduc, and Bolduc, AH 16, 17, and 18, 2023. Go ahead, Madam.
There's no revisions proposed to that bylaw.
Okay.
Thank you.
It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Alma-Culdeman act as follows. That bylaw 612025 be bylaw to execute a development agreement with Bolduc, Knox, Bolduc, and Bolduc, AH 16, 17, and 18, 2023. Be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 22nd day of July 2025. Need a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover. Seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Next, we have bylaw 2622025 to execute a development agreement with Baskerville, AH 162024, BL 2622025. It is recommended that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Alma-Culdeman enact as follows. That bylaw 622025 being a bylaw to execute a development agreement with Baskerville, and it's AH 162024 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 22nd day of July 2025. Need a mover to, oh, go ahead.
Through the mayor, thank you. I have provided revisions to the clerk.
Okay.
The development agreement that is attached as Schedule A has been updated based on clarification from the archaeologists, from the applicant, and Alderville First Nations. And I can provide a brief description of what has been changed. There is the heading archaeological assessment in the Schedule A within the content of the agreement, which now reads as follows. The owner acknowledges and agrees that no development, site alteration, or ground disturbing activities will occur on the subject land except in accordance with the recommendations of the Stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment of 629 Dudley Road prepared by AS&G Archaeological Consulting, MCM Project information number P 1345-0119-2024 dated June 2nd, 2025, upon acceptance by the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, MCM, and in compliance with the Ontario Heritage Act RSO 1990 C 0.18, refer to page 30 of the stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment. Number 2, the owner acknowledges to retain a licensed archaeologist to monitor the work for installation of a driveway within the 50-meter monitoring zone identified in the supplementary documentation for stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment of 629 Dudley Road, prepared by AS&G Archaeological Consulting, MCM, project information number P 1345-0119-2024 dated June 2nd, 2025. Number 3, prior to undertaking any construction within the 50-meter buffer, the owner agrees to erect fencing, e.g. snow fencing, to show the 20-meter buffer zone identified in the supplementary documentation for the stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment of 629 Dudley Road, prepared by AS&G Archaeological Consulting, MCM, project information number, and I'm not going to read the number again in the bylaw. And number 4, the owner acknowledges and agrees that the works identified in clause 1 and 2 above will not commence until the stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment of 629 Dudley Road has been accepted by the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. Should the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism provide additional recommendations through their review and/or acceptance, the owner agrees to implement them. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll read the resolution that bylaw number 622025 as amended and has been provided by our treasurer clerk, being a bylaw to execute a development agreement with Baskerville AH 162024, be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 22nd day of July 2025. Yeah, it was moved by.
Oh, no, sorry, it wasn't.
It wasn't, okay, so I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover. Seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Moving on to changes to the 2024-2025 PRFP and fees and charges. It is recommended the Council of the Township of the Corporation of Alma Calderman act as follows. The council received report PR 2025-09, changes to the 2024/2025 PRF fees and charges for information. And this was deferred from July 8, 2025 meeting by resolution 2025-07-08-09. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of Alma Calderman act as follows. The council received report update 2025 fees and charges scheduled for information, and that a bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration to amend the 2025 fees and charges bylaw. Did I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Silver. Councillor Booth, do you want to second this?
Yes, I'll second that. Thank you.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Booth. Are there any comments or discussions? I guess I have one. My understanding of this will end in 2025 and go on. A new one will be prepared for 2026.
Yes.
Pardon me? That's correct.
Well, if I may, Mayor Lobo, I was reading that the proposed changes would start for September 1st, 2025.
Yes.
Is that what you just said?
No, I was saying there'll be a new one. I was saying the new one will come out for 2026. A new one. This is
Thank you.
just to take us to the end of the year.
Perfect, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? I have, I don't know, is Jeremy here? Oh, Jeremy, can I ask you, there was several places where were you dropping the price or adding on to the price? Cause I believe it said, $40 from 35, but I'm not sure whether the new one's 40 or the old one's 40. Or are we dropping the price?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah. So on the specific lines that you're referencing, we're trying to switch the pricing for baseball specifically from a per game to a per hour. So the
Okay.
overall invoicing for users would be a wash at the end. It's just the optics of paying for what you're using, which keeps our charges more in line with how we rent the ice and how we rent the other facilities across the township, as well as what other municipalities are doing in the county.
okay, so I'm looking at number 4, and it says $40 from 35. Does that mean it's going up or going down?
It goes down to 35 an hour from 40 a game.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And is there a charge for practices? Ball practices?
Currently, there's only a charge for youth ball practices.
Okay.
Which,
And so will that be charged or not? Will it be due charge?
the current fee exists, but is rarely ever actually used.
Okay.
They block their time over the week and then use it as they see.
Okay, so they paid for it
Correct.
yeah, okay. Anybody else have any further questions? Councillor O'Neill.
Just I note that it costs more to rent the Fenella, the upper level, for 8 hours. You'd be more cost effective to rent it for 2 4-hours. So maybe that 175 should be 165.
You have a comment, Jeremy?
I'm just trying to pull it up. The Fenella, the rates of Fenella on the 2024-25 fees were all over the map as well. So this has been a bit of housekeeping, but I'm sure that what Councillor O'Neill is saying is correct, and if so, then that change should be made, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it was moved by Councillor Ainsworth. Oh, no, Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Booth. Any other further comments? Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
To you, Mayor, I guess I just a clarification from when we deferred this, but I thought there was gonna be 2 columns, one for the old price versus the new price.
Yeah, and that's what I thought we were getting. That's what I thought we looked at and received that. Cause it does say old price,
Changes.
the changes, pardon me.
All I see is 25 fees.
What's that?
We just have the 25 fees. Unless I got the wrong one, but.
But it's
on the
side here. So Q4 changed to 300.
So the 202, I think what Mike's asking, Jeremy, is the 2025, is that the price that they're gonna pay from now on?
Column C, through you, Mr. Mayor, column C is the existing price. And then I've highlighted any of the lines that were going to be changed and written in column E, the effective changes.
Okay, so
example, if you look, example, if you look at item 14, which is a staff cost line, it was at 75, changed to 100, just to reflect the changes in wages. for example.
Does that answer your question, Mike?
I guess so.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Okay. So this is the motion. Okay. So we're gonna move on to so now there was two motions there. Okay. So I read them all together. I guess we should have a second motion, and that is that the deferred one from July 8th, 2025 meeting, resolution 2025-07-0809, it is recommended the Council of Corporation of the Township of Alamo Calderman act as follows. The council received report 2025 fees and charges schedule for information, and that a bylaw be brought forward for council's consideration to amend the 2025 fees and charge bylaw. Now you move in a second for that. Moved by Councilor Ainsworth. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Bylaws. This one is deferred from July 8th, 2025 regarding the to amend the fees and charges bylaw. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Alamo Calderman enact as follows. The bylaw 57-2025 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 78-2024. The fees and charges bylaw be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 22nd day of July 2025. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councilor Ainsworth. Seconded by Councilor Booth. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
Just going back to that Fenella piece, and when I'm scrolling through, we have different numbers up in the first one and then in the bylaw that we're passing. So it says we're going to keep the $85 and then the bylaw says it's at 90.
So Jeremy, can you clarify which one that should be?
Yeah, I'm not sure which one you're referencing that had the 85. The one I had in front of me had 90 as well, which made the math work. To your previous point there, Councilor O'Neill.
Right, and I'm just looking in the agenda package on page 65 of the agenda package.
Is it 14.1?
It's the Fenella numbers 3 and 4.
Do you have that available, Jeremy?
I'm bringing up the agenda package right now.
Thank you.
This is the correct fees, what I'm seeing on this package.
70 and 125.
Well,
I don't know where the 85 number came from earlier.
Go ahead.
On page 65 there, it says you're going to maintain the fee on line 3 for Fenella, maintain the fee at 85, and then below it says we're making it 90. It's not a huge deal. I suppose if we pass the 90, it's just that it was inconsistent and I noted it.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, when I open the attachment, the PDF attachment that's in the agenda, it's got the 90.
It does in the bylaw.
Down
I
there.
think we're all. I think we're all happy that it's 90.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be. So let's assume that it's 90 and make any corrections that we have to do. All in favor? That's carried. Next we have 14.2, bylaw 63-2025. To assume lands into municipal road system for year-round maintenance, Speechley Road. Bylaw 63-2025, assume land into municipal road system for year-round maintenance, Speechley Road. I'm gonna ask our roads person to come forward in case there's any questions or tell us what's going on.
Oh, it didn't? Okay, okay.
Perfect. So I'll just,
Good morning.
good morning.
And
Mr.
thank you
Mayor.
for being here, Stefan.
Thank you very much for having me, counselors as well. So I'll just give a brief overview. So Tracy has been primarily handling this, just to start at the beginning. So there was the property owner and they own two parcels on the other side of Speechley Road, civic address 223. And they had discovered that the properties were merged, and that there was a forced road that was through them. So what we've been doing is going through the process and working with legal and gone through the necessary survey to stake out a portion of the roadway that we've already been performing maintenance on. We've already been, doing grading. It's already been receiving snow plowing, and this is more or less just a formality to bring it into the road network, and all legal surveys have been performed.
So just so I understand, is that south of Scott's Line, I believe it is?
So it would be the section of Speechley Road. So the north end would be Community Center in Jackson. And then the south end would be Scott's Line.
Okay, and then you want to add to that?
So it'll be the portion of Speechley Road, so that runs north-south.
Yes.
And there was that land, that sliver of land, that is what is being formally transferred to us.
Okay, so it was already, because Speechley, my understanding of Speechley is it does start at 22 and then comes down to Community Center Road, and then there's two houses or three houses further south of that.
Yeah.
And that's the property you're talking about?
Yeah, there's a map here. I don't know if I could just circulate that with everybody so they take a quick look, but if you'd like, I can hand that to you.
Yeah, well, you can pass it around as.
Okay.
But I looked it up and I'm pretty sure that's what's what, and I was surprised that it's never been assumed before, but you're just adding on to your extra work that you're gonna have to do now, look after that, but you've been doing it all these years, so you might as well take credit for it too.
Yeah, it's more or less just a formality to officially transfer it over to us. So it has been a forest road. We have been performing maintenance on it. We've been doing pretty well, treating it as a class 5 road network. So this is just the formal process to transfer it, and this will also allow for the properties to be formally separated as well too, which is an important matter to note. So
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions? I'll read the resolution. Oh. Yeah, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, as a matter of housekeeping, the report that our roads manager did write for the report, for the agenda, for whatever reason, due to technology, didn't make it through. So there was an extra step that is required for us to complete the transfer, which is council authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents. So that was the recommendation in Stefan's report. So if I could just ask for a housekeeping amendment to this motion as you're approving the bylaw, just to add in an amendment that council authorizes the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documentation to complete the transfer of parts 3 and 4, Forest Road, and parts 5 and 6, gas marker and telephone pedestal, shown on reference plan 39R-15008 from Knollcrest Wine Limited to the Township of Holt McCaldaman. If I could ask that be included as an amendment, that will allow us to then proceed with the process.
Okay. I don't have any problem with that. Do members of council have any problem with that? Good. So I'll read the portion that hasn't been, you want me to read the whole thing? Oh. Council of Corporation of the Township of Allen called an act as follows. The council authorized the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents to complete the transfer of parts 3 and 4 Forest Road and part 5 and 6 gas maker and telephone pedestal shown on reference plan 39 R 15008 from Noel Crest Swine Limited to the Township of Allen McCalderman, and that the bylaw number 63, 2025, being a bylaw to assume land into the municipal road system for year-round maintenance, be given a first, second, and third reading, and finally passed this 22nd day of July 2025. Can I get a mover and a second? Moved by Councilor Ainsworth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Ainsworth.
To you, Mayor, just some clarification, because I know this has been going on for a year or a little more. And the landowners, so like, was suggested that that's going to be divided now properly. So is that in process, or do the landowners have to come back to Tracy and start that process?
Go ahead, madam.
Through the mayor, no, they won't have to go through another process. That'll be, a legal severance because of the parcel for the road allowance will be formally introduced, and it will also provide proper frontage to another lot that has been created on that road. So this will solve more than one problem that's out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All in favor? That's carried.
Through Mr. Mayor, thank you to council for that amendment to it. Also for a matter of record, what I'll do is I'll include our road users report to the minutes as well, so it's all there as a piece on the, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, moving on to confirming bylaw.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'm just wondering if we have any idea of how we might proceed on responding to the council's request for potential warming hub in our municipality.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, we're not prepared to discuss that right now because we don't have all the information.
Sorry, my question isn't a discussion of the item, rather what is the process? Because we don't meet again until a response is required.
I would say then, when is the response required?
I believe it's August 22nd.
I don't know what you're talking.
Well, there was, I think, I'm not sure where did you read that?
John, this is. This is a matter of clarity.
Okay.
But you've got to stick to.
If there was a need, we would have to call a special meeting.
But you have to discuss to see
Yeah.
what's in the bag, so. Yes. So that's. Stick to your agenda.
Okay. Anybody else before I read the confirming bylaw? Oh. Before we move on to confirming report, we do have a notice of motion as reconsideration of denied severances and building applications, and it was submitted by Councillor Mike Ainsworth, and that will be scheduled in the next agenda. And that's question. Yeah, that will come up at our next in our next agenda. Confirming bylaw 64-2025. Confirming bylaw is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Allen Calderman enact as follows. The bylaw 64-2025 being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of the municipal planning / regular council meeting held on the 22nd day of July 2025, and to authorize its execution, be given a first, second, and third reading, and finally pass this 22nd day of July 2025. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. And motion to adjourn is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Allen McCullough as follows. The municipal planning regular council meeting held on the 22nd day of July 2025 be adjourned at 11:55 p.m. Mover and seconder. Moved by Deputy, or pardon me, Councillor O'Neill, second by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe afternoon.
Thank you.
Have a safe trip, Greg.
Thanks.
Enjoy.
Bye, everybody.